Come join us on May 17th and 18th. Jay Martin, CEO of Cambridge House, will be hosting the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference with former Prime Minister of Canada Stephen Harper and Felipe Calderon, the former President of Mexico, as guest speakers, and over 100 macro finance keynote speakers, including myself, 225 commodity investment opportunities, and over 5,000 investors. There's a chance to meet in person, share ideas, and see how the world is being redefined. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show, Digging Deeper. Thank you to Red Cloud for having a great guest on today, Blackrock Silver. We're joined by the President, CEO, and Director, Andrew Pollard. We're going to talk a lot about silver. We're going to talk about inflation, some of the numbers out right now. We're going to talk about these markets. It's a tough time, but also, you know, some of the historical trends and evidence that we can see from the past that kind of leads into, you know, how this becomes an opportunity for a lot of people. And let's get right into it, Andrew. How are you doing today? It's been some rough days for silver, certainly the last 2 weeks.
My goodness, yeah, no, it's great to be here. I've been a long-time watcher, first-time caller, I guess. So it's good to finally be sitting here on the big stage.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's there's a weird color on my screen right now, gold and silver, and that's green. The last couple of weeks haven't really been all that good to investors across the board, and I mean, silver's absolutely taken it on the chin. It was only 3 weeks ago that silver was French kissing $26, and here we are today, off more than 20%. But it looks like stocks are all celebrating, and we're still under $22 here. So, it's times like these where you certainly get your own sort of practical degree in psychology, sort of weathering these storms. But I mean, this is the best setup that I think silver and gold have seen since the big washout of 2020, and that led to some of the biggest face-ripping gains that investors had seen, and hopefully history rhymes.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about this beforehand, and I get it. People just sell off sometimes, and sometimes when I talk to people and they're in different stocks, and they say, "Well, I had to sell this one because I had a margin call on my tech one," and I mean, FANG is down like 35-40%. Or if someone owns in their passive investments, a Canadian equity, US equity, any of these ones, they're exposed to some big companies getting hit hard. And I get it. You have to sell off someone's to make a margin call sometimes or whatnot. But maybe walk us through some of the times in the past where you've seen where like the setup kind of thing is. The pullback here, especially in gold and silver, for me, I go, doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, everyone's getting destroyed.
I mean, this is the exact same setup that happened in March of 2020. I mean, you saw most, great companies getting cut in half. I mean, Great Bear went from $8 to $4 in the span of a couple of weeks. We went, we were in a different league back then. I think we went from 20 cents down to 7 cents at that time. And, it's easy in these situations to, effectively what happens is, this is a broad market sell-off. It ain't just gold and silver. I mean, this is, look at, as you were saying, the FANG stocks, but everything gets sold originally. Everyone moves to US dollars. And then, as the knife stops falling, people start moving in. I mean, it's easy to be a short in a market like this because obviously institutions are on the sidelines and there ain't no buyers. You need like 1 or 2 days of just sustained, just calmness in the markets. And this is day one after, I think this is 16 of 17 days. We saw silver being red, which is near historic drop. But you need it to stabilize just a little for all this money that is now in cash to start being reallocated. And generally you start to see those as it gets reallocated, it starts getting reallocated towards safe haven investments. And, silver's been absolutely horrendous in the last month. Silver's off 20%. The silver junior index is off about 24%. You've got major silver producers off 35 to 40% in this time, right?
Yeah.
Everything gets sold and the shorters are just lapping it up. So I'm happy that some people are making money. But what this does is this presents the mother of all setups because, BlackRock, we've got probably the biggest short position I think we've ever seen. And that means we've got a lot of committed buyers as soon as people start to see that things are stabilizing. I mean, just on this little bit of good news on the CPI inflation numbers this morning, our stock's up 11% on very low volume. And if I'm sitting short right now, I'm saying, holy cow, okay, well, maybe covering. And, I think a lot of this downfall in the last week or two is, could be easily gap back up on very little buying here as people start to cover. So we'll see. Ultimately, all I can control is what we're doing at the project level, and we've got a winner on our hands here.
Yeah, I mean, and no one can argue about inflation. There's supply chain issues. We've talked about it a lot on the show, and we talked earlier about it. But one of the interesting things too, before we jump into specifically with your projects, is you were talking about some of the issues like in Mexico and South America. There's nationalizing lithium mines in Mexico. There's certainly issues in Peru. There's some changing governments in South America. That type of political risk also throws into the mix. Like, where's your jurisdiction? What's the likelihood of this developing? Can you work even on it?
Yeah, well, listen, the geopolitical risk has never been more top of mind for investors. I mean, obviously, even Russia, too. Silver, the vast majority of it comes from South and Central America in terms of production. And all of those countries are doing their darndest to chase away investment. So if I'm a major mining company producing silver down there, I mean, you've got everything from blockades, armed militias taking over some of the largest copper mines in the world in Peru. Pan American announced they've got a blockade at one of their mines down there. In Mexico, you've got cartels. You've got everything from, as you said, I mean, they just said they're going to be nationalizing their lithium. How long until they go after precious metals? And obviously, there's they obviously see some green there too in terms of cash. What we've got is one of the highest grade undeveloped silver projects, and we're not in any of those countries. We're on private land in Nevada, about a 3-hour drive from Vegas, and you can walk from the Comfort Inn to our main deposit in about a minute and a half. So it doesn't get much better from a jurisdictional point of view here. And I mean, that's why companies like that's why First Majestic Silver came in so early into our discovery. To lay some roots here and say, okay, well, listen, yeah, I think all silver primary producers have lost their mandate to do M&A in South and Central America and in certain other jurisdictions. We're not in a far-flung place. This is about as good of a setup as you could possibly be. And now that we've actually backstopped our valuation and can benchmark our project against other peers, what we have is head over shoulders above most other early exploration and development stage projects remaining in the industry. And the single biggest thing, aside from our grade, is the fact that we're not Peru, we're not Mexico, we're not Argentina or Chile. We're Vegas, baby.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about Nevada so much on the show. I don't think I have to belabor it with anybody. It really is one of the top jurisdictions. And also with, this, we're kind of used to up here, certainly in Vancouver, the not in my backyard crowd. And we get a lot of that, but hopefully that sentiment is changing. And I'm certainly trying to be one to help shift the general conversation that way. Is we've got great regulation here. We don't need more. I mean, I talked to a lawyer in Vegas at a conference. They're saying Canada has one of the best environmental regulations in place already. We have for decades. There's no reason why. And also we should be encouraging people in North America to be mining because we have a say then in the mining. If we let it get done in China, you have zero say on how it's done, on any environmental standards or regulations. And that isn't good. I think people realize nowadays, just because it's not in your backyard, it does affect the climate, it affects the environment, pollution and whatnot. So you want to have these not only for the supply chain issues, but you want to be able to get these products, for all the goods we need. And silver is needed in solar panels for one, but it's a huge industrial metal.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Listen, Nevada is always, consistently ranked as one of the top 3, best jurisdictions you can be in for mining. We're not just in Nevada, we're on private land in Nevada. And I can tell that that's unequivocally the best setup you could possibly have, because we don't have to deal with the federal government on anything when it comes to permitting. Nevada actually even has their own EPA. So, we're just dealing with county and state level officials, and obviously they're very pro mining. And what we have, I mean, we're not trying to develop a big, massive, open pit operation. This is, we've got, what look to be very, very high grade underground deposits here. And, there'd be very little surface disturbance to get down and pull out those high grade ounces. And as you said, I mean, there is a green sort of curve to kick to what we're doing here. I mean, obviously there's the currency aspect of silver as a store of wealth, and obviously you got the stackers, but a growing portion of the pie is going to industrial applications. The electrification of the world requires silver. It's used in everything from hard drives to cell phones to electric cars, and as you said, solar panels. I mean, that's increasing market share. So the demand for it's great. I mean, having something that is going to be domestically sourced is probably even better if I'm looking at manufacturing in the U.S. as well. And I mean, the other thing about us, which differentiates us from nearly every other silver primary company out there in the world, is that we're just silver and gold. There's no lead or zinc or other base metal elements, meaning this is probably going to be a greener operation than most other deposits, simply because we're not having to go through creating like lead zinc concentrates and stuff.
Yes,
you can get into very, very dirty. It can get pretty ugly there, and also it affects your bottom line too. I mean, our payables should be pretty good on once we move this forward, because it's straightforward. Just would likely be Merrill-Crowe cyanidation process, and you're just getting silver and gold and high grades of that. So we're not actually having to take out, it's not a high tonnage operation. This is a very, very, robust, rich looking deposit. And the best part is we're just getting started. We've been at it for less than 2 years.
So walk me through the two projects. You've got Tonopah. That's the one. I think that's the one where you just had the latest results on.
Yeah. So Tonopah became our flagship very early on. This is a great slide, because what this slide shows is that we picked up our project on April 1st, 2020, and here we are today. And what this slide shows is, I guess, the fun-sided discovery. Out of 25 silver and gold, silver exploration development companies, we're the third best performer since 2020, since we picked up this project. Now, what this project, it's a past producer. I mean, 100 years ago, this would have been the center of the universe in America for precious metals mining. It's still one of the most significant discoveries in Nevada mining history to this day, just because of the timing of it. It really rescued the state when most of the population had left and they were going to lose their seats in the Senate. But it led to some of the other biggest discoveries that really comprised much of the Walker Lane trend, and really helped establish Nevada as a real state, an economic driver. So 100 years ago, production shut down when metals prices tanked as the Great Depression came on, and no one had been back in and consolidated this district since we picked the project up in 2020. Our first drill hole, these weren't blind discoveries. We literally just went into a few areas where we knew the historic miners were actually doing development on and preparing to mine, but they never actually got around to pulling out ore. And we just targeted at our first few drill holes, targeted some of the historic workings where these miners were setting up, and they were bangers. Our first drill hole hit about 29 meters of a kilogram per ton, and the rest is history. We've now gone, we started drilling it in June of 2020. We've now gone on to, this has become the most active silver exploration project in North America by a country mile, and we've backstopped it. We've gone from 0 drill holes in the database to just last week announcing a maiden resource estimate on this project. And we've got 2 deposits which we've now scoped out. And what this shows is the numbers we've just put out make this the highest grade undeveloped silver project in the world of size, like north of 40 million ounces. This is the highest grade discovery since Silvercrest Las Chispas in 2018. And they command the, obviously, they're the industry leader in terms of value creation or how they're valued per ounce in the ground. And we see that same potential here. So, we announced just under 3 million tons. Grading 446 grams per ton, and that's mining block diluted grades. We took, this is probably the most conservative parameters that you'll see in a maiden resource estimate, or really any resource estimate that's not at the engineering stage yet. We've constrained this 6 ways from Sunday. We stope optimized it, meaning, it's not just your, the standard block model, but we trimmed off all the fat. Every single thing in the model has to fit within mineable shapes, or it didn't get in there. We also used a really, really high cutoff grade because, listen, we're not interested in putting out a marginal deposit. And we knew that if we put out sort of arm wavable numbers, people would be trying to poke holes in it. So we used, our cutoff grade's about 25% higher than any other silver company has used in recent past. We're the only one to stope optimize it at this stage. And what we're putting out is absolutely bulletproof. And this is just the beginning. I mean, this drilling only accounted for about 18 months of drilling. So this, we started drilling in June of 2020, and the cutoff date for this was December 31st of last year. This is just backstopping us now. We can say we've got ounces in the ground. We can say this is ultra high grade. In the silver context, this would be Fosterville. We're not after the high. We don't need 1 billion ounces. We don't need 200 million ounces. What we want to show is that this is going to be a rich deposit, and this is a great platform for us to build on from here. So yeah, very excited to get this out. I mean, very few companies can go drilling from surface and take something with zero to a maiden resource of this caliber, and what we see now is huge potential. I mean, we're effectively now a leverage call option on the price of silver. I mean, you see, we're now trading with the index as silver goes up today, we go up, but we see value to go way beyond that now too, because not only do we have a clear path to add ounces, but we've got Silvercrest laid out here, and what we're showing on this slide is a few other underground silver deposits that are either exploration or development stage. Now, grade is king, obviously. That's why high-grade stories get valued the way they do, and we're the highest grade large story out there next to Silvercrest now. But what makes us, but the Silvercrest there, they're going to be going into production this month. So you see how they're valued per ounce in the ground. They're getting around $9 to $10 per ounce. Right now, not sure where we're trading at today, but we're sort of leading the pack of the explorers in terms of our ounce of the ground valuation. So the opportunity for us is very simple. Find more ounces and de-risk the project further up that confidence curve. And that shows the sort of differential we have in front of us. Now, what we can say based off all the drilling that we've done is that we know that our cost for discovery is about 62 cents US per ounce in the ground. We're getting valued way more than that right now, meaning we're getting substantial ROI via the drill bit. And not only, do we see clear opportunity to add more ounces, and we're drilling right now, and we're fully financed to do that right now. But, as we move this up the confidence chain, as we de-risk it, we see huge opportunity to ratchet up that ounce in the ground valuation. But obviously, the silver sentiment and gold sentiment, that's going to be the rising tide. We want to outperform. So that's what we're trying to do, and we've got a very clear path here.
Yeah, and just to kind of update, you're up 10% today alone. So, I mean, you can see
on little volume too, right? So, I mean, the sell-off, it's easy to, I think, I surmise that probably half of our volume last week was shorters, and it's easy to just pile in. Well, guess what? I mean, you got to cover some point, and, to go up 10% on little volume today, I'd be looking at closing out my positions, and it seems like I wouldn't be surprised if we can coast up on a few sustained days of rally here, and we've got a clear plan to move this project forward, which I think people will like.
Yeah, and especially when you had like good news after good news after good news, and then you've got the backstop. I like how you explain that the backstop with the PA. I mean, that would in normal conditions would be improving the stock price, and this is why it was good for us to talk at the beginning. And everyone acknowledges the sell-off. I mean, almost everything is getting sold off right now, and people are waiting. And I think they're waiting, for whatever time it is, whether it's today, it's tomorrow. But when they see they're on the sidelines waiting for the right projects, good projects with good news. And I mean, if today's any indication, that they're stepping their feet back in. And I would think a lot of people that were in other types of stocks are probably starting to look now towards mining because of they see this path moving forward with supply chains, with nationalization in other countries, but also the critical need between the Biden administration announcing that they were putting the Defense Act in place. I mean, all of these things are shaping a desperate need for the West, especially, to have control over some resources that they, quite frankly, don't. And I think it bodes well for any kind of, especially a Canadian company that's doing work in, say, the U.S. It's a pretty good place to invest. I mean, right now, if you're a Canadian stock, you've got a U.S. or Canadian asset, that looks very, very bright.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, we've just reawoken one of the great American silver camps here, and what we're showing is that the historic miners left a lot of meat on the bones for us, and had it not been for the Great Depression and then the huge sell-off in silver and gold prices back then, there would have been many chapters left to write in the history there. But that's the opportunity here. I mean, listen, we've been at it for barely not even 2 years in terms of drilling. We've just laid out one of this resource is conservative, but is bulletproof. We haven't even filed the technical report yet, but I think that I think we'll be partially vindicated in terms of we didn't want to come out with the most arm wavable number because we knew there'd be critics. But what we think will happen is once analysts and once the major mining companies, of which one is already a shareholder of us, can see the sensitivity and see how this project stacks up, not just at lower silver prices, or sorry, not just at lower mining costs or lower or higher silver prices, but how this project stacks up at significantly higher mining, with inflationary measures. I mean, there's lots of optionality plays out there right now. And I'll tell you what, if I'm looking at putting money into reallocating money into silver stocks right now, there's going to be lots of things that are going to be marginal at these prices, marginal at slightly higher prices. You look at ours. This is a robust high grade deposit, and most of our ounces are in a little bit of the tons. Meaning, once I think the sensitivity analysis where we can show it at cutoff grade substantially higher than people would even fathom looking at and seeing just how well this stacks up. I think that we should have a pretty big target on our back. So right now, what we're just trying to do is advance the project methodically. We've got step outs at the lab, big step outs, which are completed and pending assays. But we've also got a clear path within the resource area that we just announced to target some of these known high-grade structures and better define them, because I think we can add some significant tonnage just with a few extra drill holes in some key places. And at which that point, I think the high-grade stories are going to be the ones commanding attention. And I think being really the only one in North America that's got the jurisdictional, all the benefits of being on private land, but also all the benefits of being able to work it 12 months of the year and being walking distance from the town. I think it's only a matter of time till we see some M&A come into the industry, and I think we've got one of the biggest targets on our back right now.
That's why it's so good to have you on to explain to the retail investors that that kind of backstop, because that would be like understood by, say, an Eric Sprott who came in the last round there, a First Majestic who's such a major player, and that if you're doing things to their standard and to also your institutional standards, they would go, excellent, we get that. You've set this, it's bulletproof. We now have a floor. Let's build from here. And plus, there's more drilling. So this is great. Keep on doing the hard work, hit those milestones. But for a lot of retail investors, they might want the flash and the pomp and the, hey, look at me, look at me. But for a long-term investment, for someone who's setting the stage right to be attractive to a First Majestic or to anybody for M&A, doing it to that level of standard and making them happy is great. But also to be on here to tell people this is how we've done, this is how we as management have chosen to proceed. That kind of marketing message, I think, is important to get across.
Right. Well, listen, people often say it could be too promotional, yet we just put out the most conservative maiden resource estimate in terms of parameters and all of this. So, listen, we've taken this a long way in a short period of time. We still don't know how big this thing can be. I mean, we're still stepping out. We've staked 20 square kilometers directly adjacent to our patented claims here, and we're tracing these veins right up across our patented claims right onto there right now. So, what we're trying to do is methodically grow this. But as you said, we backstopped our valuation here with high grade ounces in the ground, and there's a value on that. We can ratchet that up. We're certain we can find more high grade tons, but we're certain that we can ratchet up our valuation up to by de-risking this project. And having these benchmark numbers in hand, having these baseline numbers in hand, it's unequivocal. This is a world-class deposit. This was a world-class mining camp 100 years ago. This is a world-class deposit now, and it's been rediscovered. And it ain't going to be getting smaller. I'll put it that way. We're focused on some big upside here. We're financed to do it, as you said, Sprott. we're right back to the range we were at the end in mid-February. I mean, we did a 88-cent deal with Sprott with zero discount to market and zero warrants attached. And that was when that was the day silver broke through 25.50. Here we are at 21, 22. Yeah, obviously we've fallen a long way, but so has the rest of the market. But we're fully cashed up. We're now backstopped by ounces, and we got a plan here. Call me Elizabeth Warren because I'm the man with the plan. We got a plan.
I love it. Now, I don't want to leave out too before we go because we should jump off here fairly soon. But Cloud9, so that's your other project there. Or sorry, Silver Cloud.
Silver Cloud, but if we hit up there, I'll be on Cloud9. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a good setup.
Yeah, yeah. No, Silver Cloud's Silver Cloud was the main reason why management came in. Listen, it was 3 years ago this week that I actually took over the company, and we rebuilt the board from scratch. And Silver Cloud was the asset we had up there, and that's represents pure potential. It's 45 square kilometers up in the richest gold mining region of Nevada, right at the top of the Carlin Trend where it meets the Northern Nevada Rift. So we're right next door to the Hollister mine and right on trend of Midas, two of the highest grade mines in Nevada. What we've done is actually, we haven't been, Tonopah has obviously taken most of pretty much all of our focus, and that's what investors wanted. But we haven't been doing nothing. I don't know if it's been in our MDA, but we actually announced that Goldspot Technologies, we retain them to put together some AI generated targeting drill targets, and they've come back with some very interesting looking stuff. In terms of, it looks like we might have just missed some key areas, some key target areas, and yeah, we'll be putting out some targets there. We've always wanted we've always seen the potential to spin Silver Cloud out and dividend that to shareholders. Since we hit at Tonopah, though, silver and gold have just been an absolute, the GDXJ's probably, well, the week we announced our first drill hole at Tonopah, gold was at its all-time high and silver was $30. So it hasn't really been the market to debut a new project or spin a new company out into. Most of the spin outs haven't fared that well. What we have now very shortly is some brand new drill ready targets put together by one of the leading geo-targeting companies in the industry. And hopefully that'll allow us, when the time is right, to look at potentially spinning it out or drilling them ourselves. But yeah, we're in a good position here. But Tonopah, we've got some key threads to pull out. Drills are turning, their step outs are pending. And we think we can upgrade this resource very quickly.
Excellent. Well, we're looking forward to more news, and we always like when you've got a backstop, you've got a foundation to grow from, and there's more drilling, and like you said, there's so much data to go off of. You're hitting your thesis, and there's lots of expectation for further growth. It's not the end of the story. That's certainly, it's just the start. And if you think the mining sector is looking good, which we certainly do on this side, this is certainly a good entry point because you've been kicked down a little bit over the last couple of weeks, not off of technical or any news, simply off of market sell-off. So if someone's looking to get out of cash and look to some stocks, this is certainly a very interesting story.
High grade is king, and our projects they're called the Queen of the Silver Camp. So a king for a queen, and we just gave him a maiden. It should be. I know you opened the show with mentioning that you're going to be at the Cambridge show at the Vancouver Resource Conference. We're going to be putting on a lunch there on the Wednesday. So excellent. Anyone that's going to be there, please send me a note, Andrew at blackrocksilver.com, and we'd love to host you there, and we can give you a much more detailed update on where we are with the project and what looks to be a multi-course, pretty good lunch there. So come for the lunch, stay for the talk.
Yes, definitely come and make sure you say hello. You get to see everyone in person, get to exchange some ideas and have some one-on-one conversation. Check out the lunch with Blackrock and reach out to me as well if need be, if you don't get Andrew. But we'd love to see you there. Thanks so much, Andrew. I really appreciate it. And it's been great getting to understand these projects a bit more and your take on the market.
Thanks very much. Great to be here and hope to be back soon.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thank you.
Today's company presentations are brought to you by Red Cloud Financial Services and the team at Red Cloud Vancouver. Red Cloud Financial Services is your preeminent source for mining industry opportunities. The team provides a unique tailored marketing program dedicated to reaching the right people from its mining-focused global network. giving clients access to industry-leading events and conferences, retail and institutional marketing, plus an in-house growth-driven digital agency. Red Cloud Financial Services has access to some of the mining industry's most notable companies and CEOs. Tune in every Thursday at 4:15 p.m. Eastern, 1:15 p.m. Pacific for weekly corporate presentations. For more information, visit redcloudfs.com.